Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the epic, frankly, legendary life of Alexander the Great. But we're going to look at it through a really specific lens. We'll be contrasting his incredibly rapid, seemingly unstoppable military conquests across the ancient world with a jarring, deeply intimate philosophical encounter that basically recontextualized his entire legacy. So you gotta ask yourself, what defines true greatness? Is it conquering the world or conquering yourself? It's the ultimate showdown of absolute power versus absolute simplicity. On one hand, you have a guy who sought to own literally everything the light touches. And on the other, a man who wanted absolutely nothing at all. How do those two extremes even interact? Well, to figure that out, we first need to understand the conqueror himself. Chapter 1. The Making of a King. In 356 BC, a boy was born in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia who was destined to completely redraw the map of the world. Alexander's life escalated at breakneck speed right from the start. As the son of King Philip II, one of Greece's most powerful rulers, he was marked for greatness. But what's really fascinating here is his education. His dad didn't just hire some tough military general to tutor him. He hired Aristotle, one of the greatest thinkers in human history. Under Aristotle, Alexander didn't just learn politics. He soaked up philosophy, science, medicine, literature. It gave him this massive, sweeping dream of greatness. And by the time he was just 20 years old, he was thrust onto the throne. The sheer ambition drilled into him was undeniable. There's this amazing story where a young Alexander actually managed to tame a wild, terrified horse named Bucephalus, a horse that absolutely no one else could get near. Alexander just realized the poor thing was frightened of its own shadow. So he turns the horse toward the sun, hops on, and rides it flawlessly. Seeing this crazy blend of intellect and bravery, King Philip makes this legendary proclamation. He tells him, "Seek a kingdom equal to yourself, for Macedonia is too small for you." The expectation was set. Macedonia, that was just the starting line. Chapter 2. Conquering the Persian Empire. Okay, so after his father is suddenly assassinated, a 20-year-old Alexander takes charge. Some Greek cities rebelled, thinking, oh, this young kid is going to be weak. Well, they were dead wrong. He crushes the rebellions, unites Greece, and immediately pivots east to go after Persia, the most powerful empire in the world, ruled by King Darius III. Everyone thought conquering Persia was impossible. But in 334 BC, Alexander crosses into Asia with an army of around 40,000 soldiers. Just 40,000! Against the sprawling might of the Persian Empire, it was a wildly audacious move. What followed was like a massive strategic domino effect. At the Granicus River, he kicks open the gates to Asia Minor. Then at Issus, despite being heavily outnumbered, he uses these brilliant battlefield tactics to crush the Persian forces, sending King Darius literally running for his life. But step 3 is where his sheer willpower is just mind-blowing. The city of Tyre was this island fortress, widely considered unconquerable. So what's Alexander's solution? He has his army spend 7 grueling months building a massive physical causeway, a land bridge connecting the mainland directly to the island, just to conquer it. He literally changed the geography of the earth to win a battle. After that, the momentum was just unstoppable. He marches into Egypt, and get this, he wasn't even fought. They welcomed him as a liberator. The Egyptians hailed him as a hero and actually declared him a pharaoh. It was here that he founded Alexandria, which would go on to become one of the greatest centers of ancient knowledge and culture, perfectly blending his love for Aristotle's teachings with his military conquests. It's a great reminder that true power isn't just about brute force, it's about controlling culture and ideas. But of course, he wasn't done yet. He pushed further east for one final showdown with Darius at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC. The result was totally decisive. The Persian Empire entirely collapsed. These magnificent, wealthy capitals, Babylon, Susa, Persepolis, they all fell right into Alexander's hands. He had achieved the impossible. He was, without a doubt, the most powerful man on the face of the earth. Chapter 3. Meeting the Philosopher. Right at the absolute peak of his worldly power, all these fast-paced conquests come to a screeching halt for a totally different kind of encounter. The contrast here is just striking. On one side, you have Alexander the Great, ruler of vast lands, dripping in unimaginable wealth and power. On the other side, a philosopher named Diogenes. Now, Diogenes rejected luxury and social status completely. He owned basically nothing. He slept in public places, and he believed true happiness only came from total simplicity and freedom. Alexander sought to conquer the world, right? Well, Diogenes sought to conquer desire itself. So Alexander is curious about this famous aesthetic, and he tracks him down. He finds Diogenes just lying there, chilling in the sunlight. The most powerful man in the world walks up to a guy with absolutely nothing and asks with ultimate confidence, "Is there anything I can do for you?" I mean, he could have offered him entire cities, gold, an army for protection. Instead, Diogenes just looks up at him and delivers this fearless, legendary line. "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." Can you imagine? His entourage must have been absolutely stunned. You just do not speak to the king that way. But Alexander? He didn't execute the guy. He actually admired him. He recognized the philosopher's raw courage and pure independence. And he famously declared, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Think about what that really means. The man who had everything realized that ultimate freedom might actually mean needing absolutely nothing. Chapter 4. Reaching the World's Edge. All right, so the philosophical detour is over, and the military campaign resumes its brutal, relentless pace through mountains and deserts. He marches all the way through modern-day Afghanistan and Central Asia, eventually hitting India. There, he faces King Porus at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. Alexander wins again, but notice the shift in him here. When he asks the defeated, incredibly brave King Porus how he wished to be treated, Porus just replies, "Treat me as a king." Alexander, clearly evolving in his respect for his foes, actually honors that courage and lets Porus continue ruling his lands under the Macedonian Empire. But eventually, the machine just breaks down. Not Alexander, though. His men. His soldiers were utterly, completely exhausted. I mean, they had marched thousands of kilometers from home. They'd fought countless battles, and finally, they just mutinied. They flat out refused to take another step east. Reluctantly, a very disappointed Alexander is forced to turn back, kicking off a harsh and deadly journey homeward across these unforgiving deserts. Which brings us to a frankly shocking, incredibly low number: 32. In 323 BC, while resting in the city of Babylon, the man who had conquered the known world fell seriously ill. And at just 32 years old, Alexander the Great died. His death sent absolute shockwaves across the ancient world. And honestly, to this day, no one knows exactly what killed him. Historians have pitched a bunch of theories. Was it a sudden disease, a devastating fever, or maybe even poisoning by his own inner circle? The exact truth remains one of history's great unsolved mysteries. Chapter 5. An Enduring Legacy. Pretty much immediately after his death, his generals fought over the scraps, and his massive physical empire was quickly divided and fragmented. But the lines on a map, that was only one part of what Alexander actually built. The crucial takeaway here is that his real empire was cultural. Because of his campaigns, Greek culture spread like wildfire across vast, previously disconnected regions. Dozens of new cities flourished, trade routes expanded, bridging the East and West, and most importantly, knowledge traveled between civilizations like never before. He was a brilliant strategist for sure, but he was also a dreamer who genuinely sought to fuse the world together. And that brings us right back to our opening question. Alexander the Great shaped the modern world with an unmatched military mind and a totally unyielding drive. Yet, even the man who conquered nations paused in awe of a guy sitting in the dirt who had conquered his own desires. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to reflect on in your own life. In the grand scheme of things, does true greatness come from constantly conquering the world around you, or from conquering yourself? Thank you so much for watching, and keep questioning.